Toxic Yaken. How are you?
Hey man, I'm good. How are you?
Welcome. Let's talk about Eve for a minute. I want to know about when you started. What year was that?
I believe it would be 2014 or 2015. I've been playing for about 3 years now.
Oh, okay. So you're. It's so funny to think of somebody playing a game for 3 years being new, but since the game's been around for well over a decade, it does seem like you're kind of the later generations. What did you play
Oh,
before that?
um, I mean, I played WoW a fair time ago, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, but I didn't really play a lot of MMOs since then. I kind of tried Eve a couple times, and it didn't really stick the first few times. I'm mostly just sticking to like playing Call of Duty shooters and other like RPGs on my Xbox.
Other competitive stuff.
Yeah.
And what actually? How did you find Eve, and what led you to play it?
I think it was just like after kind of burning out on WoW, like I was playing on private servers and doing like GM and creative stuff in that. I kind of burned out and I wanted to try something more open and challenging. So I saw Eve. I tried it out the first time I tried it. My computer couldn't really handle it properly. And I remember doing like some part of the tutorial, not really knowing what I was doing and just saying like, screw it, and not really going anywhere with it. And I didn't really try it again until I got a new computer a little bit later.
Oh, that's funny. You must have joined after Incarna because
I can't even remember when I first tried it. Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding. You did come after that, but it was there was something about this thing Incarna where you were walking in stations, right? That's what the talking in stations is a take on that whole development path that they abandoned. And as soon as the walking in stations appeared, it was less than expected, but it also burnt machines out because the graphic requirements were so high. So it was kind of funny that computers couldn't handle Eve anymore, because before that it was amazing that Eve could be played on really old machines.
Oh, I mean, like I was just playing on like a shitty MacBook, so I think it was just yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still play on a MacBook, but it can actually handle multiple Eve clients now.
Yeah. So you got involved in Eve, and it looks like you are in HiSec, and this is your second run for the CSM, right?
Yeah, so this is my second run for CSM. Last year I ran very focused on war decking and ganking as kind of my platform, just because that's where I have a lot of background in. This year I've been still focused on those, but I've been trying to open up to different groups and kind of get a better perspective, because as much as I like my communities that I come from, that's not a huge voting block to kind of base myself off of, and just to only have that kind of background isn't really beneficial for having a better understanding of what HiSec needs.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you can't say I can represent HiSec when all you do is kill guys that are coming.
Yeah, it's not really fair to say that I represent HiSec in that way. So I've been trying to open up and talk to both sides, and like for example, I started. Oh, sorry. In October of last year, I put together the War Deck Roundtable, which was I tried to get a bunch of guys together from the War Decking community, some other people, some members of the CSM came in, and we had a good few hours discussion, which was at times a little one-sided because the mercenary group is generally pretty outspoken about their playstyle, and we didn't have as many people defending the defender side, but it kind of brought me to later on start up the War Deck project, which was something Toru Bushido and Jason Quiz. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Quixos started about 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that was all about having discussions on better ways to refine war deck mechanics to make it more fun for both sides and make it like just better gameplay. And it was something that kind of died out because they didn't really have a good response to it, or they didn't really have a lot of activity. And now we've got, I think, like 44 people in there now, and the discussions kind of flare up every once in a while, usually if we get a new person in. But yeah, just having more discussions, trying to get better perspectives and different perspectives on gameplay and that kind of stuff, just kind of building more conversations, has been really awesome.
Mm-hmm. So it's ongoing.
Yeah, and it's just right now it's just in a Discord channel. We have it open for anyone who wants to join.
And if they
I'm not sure if you've got like a link for this, I can link it.
Well, if they want to go there, they can contact you, and you would put them through to it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Well, it's kind of interesting because high sec is when you think of a high sec candidate, you think of somebody who wants to be left alone to play their game in casual mode. You don't think of high sec as a place where gankers make their living, and stuff like that. In fact, the whole concept of high sec and null sec and low sec is interesting because there's a lot of overlap between all these things, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
I keep saying right, but I meant, is there a lot of overlap? And can you explain what you mean?
I mean, I think there is. Like, I mean, I play in high sec mostly, but I mean, like, my main is part of a null sec alliance, and I do stuff in low sec, and I've occasionally wandered into wormholes. It's not like my life is entirely based around high sec, and I know there's a lot of people who do stuff in high sec who generally wouldn't consider them people who live in high sec, but you know, I have my own activities that I enjoy doing, and even though you say, when you think of high sec, you think of people who want to keep to themselves, but oftentimes I'm just kind of keeping to myself, and maybe I'll have a couple friends, but I'm not usually like living it up in high sec myself.
So you actually kind of play the game doing your own thing most of the time?
Yeah, I would say that like half the time I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I've got some really close friends who've been playing with for a long time, and I've got another group which I've been kind of learning to FC with, which is a very large high sec corporation. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of keep to that traditional high sec mentality of wanting to play by myself.
Yeah, well, I think it's just easier to fit into a lifestyle, isn't it? Like the
Well, yeah, I think part of it is I kind of have like a very semi role play kind of experience for myself where I kind of take on the persona a little bit. I don't really like go out there and role play in like the local channels and stuff like that, but I kind of like think of what my character would want to do and the kind of things that kind of make him him.
yeah.
So I basically like when I gank, I'm generally not like going. I usually don't go after people who are like minors like that unless I'm doing it with friends. It's like usually it's just I need profits because this is like 90% of my earnings. So if I see somebody hauling something expensive, I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. I just need more money. I'm really poor.
So you're just a humble man making your way through the galaxy, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean like I know there's lots of ways to make money, but I kind of like just kind of living off of what I can salvage together. So
So you're like a true marauder.
I mean, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. I like that.
I like that idea. You're going
I'm
around.
li-
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just kind of like trying to live off the land. Like I don't really have any like PI. I don't mind. I don't run missions. I don't do incursions or anything like that. I'm just kind of living off of what I can get through wars or ganking or salvaging or stealing.
Oh, I think that's cool as hell. Is to go around and kill to live, kind of thing. You're like part of the life cycles of the land. It's neat.
Yeah.
So what is this war decking thing though that you're working on? How do you? I imagine that's one of the things that you would want to bring to the CSM as a voice about maybe tuning that up.
Yeah. So the roundtable was just kind of to have some people air their points to the CSM that's currently sorry, it's the CSM 11 because we had about 3 or 4 CSM members show up because there's a lot of people in the community who are kind of unhappy with the way CCP kind of treats them, especially with gankers and war deckers, where they kind of feel where CCP just kind of nerfs their playstyle just to make sure that the other players are happy because from their perspective, it's easier for them to gank like the ganking and war decking community's playstyles and just to teach other playstyle like other players how to kind of deal with them or live with them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like there's a lot of frustration that I feel like some people weren't really getting the opportunity to express, and I kind of helped create. Well, I wanted to help create more of an opportunity for people to get their voices out there. So I think in some way that's helped a little bit. I still think there's more opportunity to do that if I was to get elected, but
Yeah. And other things you're interested in is the ganking, obviously, and then missions as well.
yeah, it's hard for me to make some statements about missioning because I'm not really a mission runner myself. I kind of go off of what I've been hearing from other players, but like there's some people who kind of see missioning as this is my way to make money and I don't enjoy it, but it's like the best way for me to make money, so I'm just going to keep doing it. So for them having like more challenging or more complex mission running is just kind of like making it harder for them to make their ISK, and that just makes them unhappy. But there's some people who, actually really enjoy running missions, and they want to see like more substance to their missions, more challenge, or like more opportunity to do it with friends, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, if I was a voter, and I am, and I was reading and listening to all these candidates and stuff, how could I distinguish you? Like, why should I vote for you?
I think the one thing I'm trying to put out there is that I want to be more of a community guy, sort of like what Jintan's been doing. I want to go out there and do more discussions. I know Jin specifically did a lot of roundtables this year, and I would also like to do more roundtables. But I also really like the function of having discords for discussions, because there's a lot of people who they can't carve out that extra time for coming to a discussion, or maybe they're just shy and they don't want to just miss out on the conversation, because sometimes when you miss on the conversation, you have more opportunity. Well, so you have more opportunities to input on the conversation when you're actually there than like afterwards. So I think having like the open discussion is a little bit better. You get more opportunities for people to like hop in and give their feedback, and people aren't being left out on their opinions.
Yeah. So that's kind of the role that you would fit, is somebody that would be communicative, because one of the criticisms, if any, of this last CSM was they really weren't that communicative.
Well, I mean, some certainly were, but like, yeah, I think there needs to be a balance of some people being communicative with the community and people who are experts and stuff like that. And I don't think having all of one or all the other is a good thing. If we have a team that's all communicative and doesn't actually really have a lot of expertise, that's not super helpful for
they may
the
end
either.
Up communicating the wrong things, or their own thing, or and it looks like a mess, But it does seem like there's always a secretary kind of character or person that comes out and says, like, well, here's a niche I can fill, and that is to try to be the person that puts all the information together and then puts it out in some way or another.
I think that you can have more than one of those, honestly. Like, I know I was talking to Jin, and he was saying like he doesn't mind doing all the like roundtables and group stuff, but he also has stuff that he'd like to work on too, and having to be the secretary all the time kind of makes it harder for him to do that stuff.
Yeah. What direction do you think the game is going, and do you think it's going in the right direction?
Yeah, I think it's going in the right direction right now. I mean, we saw with Ascension, we saw a lot of positive changes with a lot more people coming, a lot more content. I'm very hopeful for structures for the future. As someone who's a wardecker, I'm hopeful to see what the observation arrays are going to do, what kind of intel opportunities there might be, because I know there's a lot of people in the wardecking community who are unhappy about removal of watch lists and are hoping for something like that.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. You're part of this high-sec ticket. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, so yeah, I'm running with Commander A's and Rodin. It was kind of a plan that, I mean, I'll give credit to Jintan, because it was something that he kind of put out there, that if you're a high-sec guy, the real only chance you're going to have is if you kind of band together and make a platform, because, high-sec doesn't have the block backing that some other candidates are going to have. So the really the best chance you're going to have is if you kind of band your votes together. So even if if I don't get elected, if it gives Rodin or Commander A's a better chance, then high-sec will at least have some representation. So I think that was the whole plan, was just give high-sec a chance to get some representation on this year's CSM. Since there's only going to be 10 seats, it's going to be a lot tighter for getting people on. So
yeah, you think one of your guys will make it? Like, do you think there is enough of vote for a general high-sec candidate? Because again, I don't know if there is a general high-sec vote. It seems like a lot of high-sec people have interests in other areas as well. You do too, right? You have interests in all kinds of stuff. New player experience, corporations. There's definitely to say that somebody's a high-sec voter is, I don't know what that actually means.
Well, that's entirely fair. Like, I mean, I've been trying to talk, like everyone I talk to, and try and convince to vote for me. I'm going to try and convince them to vote for Rodin and Commander A's as well. And hopefully they've been doing the same for me. And, every voter that does that and votes us in the top 3 spots, it's going to help. As far as getting high-sectors to vote, some of it's going to be just going around and kind of, trying to talk to everyone we get the opportunity to talk to. There there are big high sec groups. Like I'll give the example of the one group that I'm with, which is Fly Fearless, and that's an alliance that is actually about 1,700 people, I think. I don't think that's I don't think that whole group is entirely active. I think it's probably only like maybe a few hundred people, but still, that's a very large group of people that you can find backing in. And there's a lot of like groups that are, 50, 100 people, and if you might say like high sec's a lot of small groups, but like if you actually go out and talk to all those groups and you can actually get their support and they're all active, that can actually add up. It's like it's a matter of going out there and getting your support. And I know there's been a lot of talk about getting the high sec vote, and that high sec candidates don't really have much of a chance this year with only 10 seats. But if you're not like, if you're willing to put the effort out there, it's possible. I'm trying to be optimistic about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't want to be, pessimistic in disguise of realism. It's more like it seems like we were saying earlier that voting is a matter of connection. Like, I connect to this guy. I like the way he sees the game. I like the way he believes the game should go. He's someone that identifies with me, or I identify with him, and that's who I'm going to vote for. And I can have a small corporation that I do indie with in high sec, and I can live in a wormhole with a different alt, and I can be in null sec with a different alt. It doesn't matter. It's the player and who they connect with as someone who is driving or wants to drive the game in the same direction that they want it to go in. And so I don't know if I buy into the, I'm only interested in high sec issues when, in fact, I have alts all over the place. And that, to me, that seems to be, at least among the people who actually listen to these podcasts and read about the news and get interested in the election, they seem to have varied interests, not singular interests, with exceptions. There are people who are just tournament players, low-sec combatants, and that's really all they care about. And, that's where they're going to put their focus on anybody who can represent that. And there definitely are ballot voters who will vote just the way they're told because they don't really care one way or the other. Or they're going to vote for their leader and that sort of thing. So who knows? I mean, it seems like it's up in the air. To think of it in other terms might be too simplistic. But to that, I just gave a little speech in the middle of your interview, but and I asked you earlier, is it going in the right direction and that sort of thing? The game, is it going in the right direction? What direction do you think it is going in? What direction is EVE being developed in?
I think it's kind of being pushed in the direction of, building up your own space and kind of owning your own space. And again, like I'm hopeful. Like I'm putting some trust in CSP. I'm hopeful that they're gonna do it right, and it's gonna make high sec at least more interesting for me. Like, again, with wars, I would like to see more people kind of going out and fighting for their space and having a reason to fight. And I think structures are a big step forward for that. Yeah, I mean, I really play most of my time in high sec. Like, I know that you said, everyone's kind of got their hands in everything. Like, even my main right now, I live in null sec, but I don't really do a lot of stuff in null sec. Like,
you just kind of taste it, right? Like,
yeah, I just kind of taste it, and I'll go out with my friends because that I'm living with all my friends, and we'll go out and do stuff every once in a while. But I'm not really living out there to rat or do indie or anything like that. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. What are your friends like? I mean, what's that relationship like that you've stuck with some people for a long time that seems kind of loyal? Like, what's that like?
I mean, they're very like-minded people. They also enjoy doing high sec stuff. They're kind of the people that were mentors to me, and yeah, they've been very supportive of me. So I've been very supportive and trusting of them. And I think it's partially because Pirates Code just kind of. Yeah, I'll trust them over anyone else, even though I know we're all backstabbers.
Are you guys honorable pirates, though? Do you, if you capture somebody and they successfully give you ransom money, do you then kill them?
Oh yeah! Oh my God! One of my friends.
What's wrong with you pirates? What happened to honor?
It's I'll honor my friends, but yeah. Most people I'll honor. If I don't know who you are, I might steal your stuff. Because I like stealing stuff.
Well, you know what I mean, right? Because it used to be And it was a big deal in Eve. Like there was honorable pirates and there was dishonorable pirates, and honorable pirates hated dishonorable pirates, and that meant
Well,
if you captured somebody and said, "Give me your money," and they gave you their money, you let them go. That was an honorable way of doing it, because then the next guy that catches them is going to get paid too. Whereas if you kill the guy after he gave you money, the next pirate that says, "I'm going to kill you," is saying like, "Yeah, I'm not going to pay you. Kill me anyway."
I remember there was a time when I was war decking and I just told myself if I ever catch anybody, I'm not, and if I ransom them, then I'll let them go, just out of being nice. And I did it once and I was like, no, that, that felt pretty good. The next time I caught a freighter and the guy really wanted me to like let him go and he sent me money and I was like, still really want to kill that freighter. So
So that's when you turn to the dark side.
yeah, I felt a little bit bad, but my friend was really happy because he was the one that paid for the war. I got a bit of good money out of that.
Okay. Well, do you see that as different though? Pirating in general, like basically blocking a pipe that people will use as a shortcut from trade hub to trade hub, as one thing, and then war decking somebody else as a different thing? Because war decking is like, I'm attacking your corporation, and you guys, I may have mercy on you or I may not.
I mean, it depends on what I'm using the war deck for. Like I've definitely had wars which are very well, actually I would say most of the wars that I try to do are very personal. Like I'll go for one corporation and I try not to be like super malicious, but like I'll give the example of when I was actually at war with the high sec group I'm now flying with. I knew where they lived and they had a huge population of newer players, and I said, I don't want to be like super unfair and just bring a Proteus and just like sit on their undock and ruin their day all day. So I just started flying around at Tristan, and the first night I think I killed like 8 or 9 other guys. I killed like a stabber. I killed some other stuff, and they were all kind of paranoid because it's a Tristan. They feel like they should be able to catch me, but every time they catch me, I just slip away or I get out with like half structure, and it kind of got to the point where they're all kind of scared. But I tried to stay friendly with them, and we had like good banter and local aside from the people I accidentally killed, and eventually they kind of got better.
Accidentally killed?
They started catching me.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Sometimes you try to let them go and the drones kill them.
But that's an interesting dynamic that people may not know a lot about, and that is like what a war deck looks like in reality.
Well, I mean, it's different. It's a different situation every time. Like a lot of people will see wars that are just someone declares war and nothing happens because they may be just camping the hubs and they're just trying to look for easy kills. But then there might be personal or professional wars, which are maybe like a mercenaries hired one group to go after your group, and that means they're going to come to your station and they're going to make sure you don't get to play for a week. And yeah, like I personally try to keep mine kind of friendly. Like I kind of like having wars where everyone's just kind of having fun, but I know those are few and far between, and sometimes I try to set up a war and the people just get mad at me and just don't want to play with me. But sometimes I get some good fun, and like my friend kind of got annoyed at me at one point because he was paying for all of our wars, and he was like, you gotta stop making friends with these guys because
they're our lunch.
Yeah, they're our lunch. Like I'm trying to make money here. I'm trying to like pay back all these wars because wars can be kind of expensive when you're poor like us.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a different side of the game than I'm used to, which is the poor war decker.
Well, I mean, yeah, like there's a small amount of us who kind of still go around and do this, but like, a lot of people when they think of war decking, they think of like Marmite or Vendetta, like the big guys who are much more well known and have lots of money and fly really blingy stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them will either live in and around the hub because that's where the most content is. Like you can get lots of money, you can get lots of kills, and like I understand why people do it. Like I did it in the past because I could just sit there and then like after a day or two I'd be like, oh, I made like 500 mil or I made a bill, just because there's lots of people who fly in and out who don't really understand what war decks are.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's people who do it for that reason. They just are trying to farm up kills, and there's people who take it very seriously. Like Vendetta takes their war decking very seriously.
Well,
and they know their mechanics very well.
what's that mean? Taking a war deck very seriously on the aggressing side. What's that mean?
Like they will like they'll have scouts in your system. They'll use wormholes to hunt you. They'll have a very they'll like I'll give an example of a war from the past, which was Archetype and Complaints Department, which were two high-sec war decking corps, and they were up against Vendetta and their allies in a war over high-sec space because they were two mercenary groups that didn't get along very well. And Vendetta was definitely bigger and a bit stronger, I think. And yeah, if I recall correctly, Vendetta was supposed to be attacking a citadel, and Complaints Department Archetype, they brought support from Test. They had a fleet of I think 100 guys coming from Test to come back them up. And what Vendetta had done was they had made a shell corporation to declare war on the Citadel as well. And when Test showed up, they had all of their pilots jump over to this new corporation, and now Test couldn't fight them because Test had only allied onto the war against Vendetta. So all of a sudden, there was in a situation where there's all these mercs who had just kind of like outsmarted their opponent because they didn't really understand the mechanics, and Complaints Department and Archetype really couldn't fight the much larger Vendetta force without their support.
They actually switched corporations?
Yeah.
So that happens?
I mean, this came up in the statescraft debate, which was I don't really know a lot of corporations who do this, but I know Vendetta will do this because it's, if people don't understand war deck mechanics and like what people are capable of, and you don't know that all these groups that are declaring war on the Citadel could be just alt corps, then they're using the mechanics to their advantage.
Oh, it's interesting. And the corp history is not sacred to them, so they just can move around without.
Well, I mean, like that's the thing. It's like if they have the war set up, like all they need to do is drop out of their current corporation, jump into that one, and then they're off to the races. There's not really any way for anyone to know if this one man corporation that's being used by a 5-day-old character is just some random guy or an alt.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. I guess high sec isn't as easy as it looks, or I should say, it's a little more complex than people think or give it credit for.
There's a lot of fine intricacies that can be abused, and I think that's part of the high sec PvP background is that there's a lot of mechanics that you can use to your advantage, and there's a lot of mechanics that people don't have full grasp on.
Interesting. Well, Toxic Yaken, it's nice to meet you, and I guess you'll be running up until a few days from now when election day hits.
Oh, I'll be running right past that. Don't worry.
That's right.
We got like a full month of campaigning left. This is just the beginning.
That's right. Most people vote in the beginning, but not necessarily, and so you will keep campaigning all through the whole voting window, which is huge. It's not just one day.
And I mean, there's a lot of high sec people who either don't know what's happening or don't really have like a candidate in mind. So everyone we can scoop up is another one that we can add to the count, because I can't remember what Noisy said, but I think he said that based on how many people he thinks might be voting, it might be like 1,900 votes that you need to get in if you're looking at like the first place votes.
Yeah.
So I mean, every vote counts.
That's doable. Good luck. Good luck on your campaign.
Thanks for having me, Matt, at all.
Sure.